Okay, LL. Well, thank you again for joining me in a conversation. How's it going today?
It's a pretty good day so far, so he chose well for a podcast.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, sad news around the world, difficult times in the Middle East. But yeah. For today we were gonna talk about the second Grimm's fairy tale in my book, the Cat and Mouse in Partnership. And also maybe one of the four agreements from Don Miguel Ruiz. So just for the cat and mouse in partnership, do you again want to try a summary?
Okay. Um, so there was a cat and mouse that met and they became friends. And I guess they got along so well together, they decided to live together as well. So winter time was coming up and they wanted to make sure they would survive through that. So they decided to store a little pot of fat for the winter time, just in case food ran out. And they decided that the best place to do that, to store it, would be at a church altar. So the cat took the pot of fat to the church and left it there. And then, like, after the cat came back, the cat started to become tempted to dip into that pot of fat when it was hungry. So it told the mouse that it needed to go to the church to be part of a christening for one of the, I don't know, for some cat
It's nephew.
family. Yeah, its nephew. So the mouse said it was fine, and the cat was able to leave their household and go to that church. So when the cat got to the church, it licked off, I think, the top of the fat. And when it came back home, the mouse asked the cat what the kitten's name was for the christening, and the cat said that its name was Top Off. And the mouse commented that that was a very strange name. Um, so yeah, time passed, and the cat was tempted again to dip into the pot of fat. So it lied to the mouse again that there was another family member that was going to be christened. So the mouse once again agreed to let the cat go, and the cat went there and licked off this time like half the pot of fat. And when it came back, the mouse once again asked what the kitten's name was this time. And the cat said that the kitten's name was Half Off. And the mouse thought that
Half
was
gone
half gone. Yeah, not half off.
or half done, sorry.
Yeah, half done. So, yeah, the mouse once again uh, explained what strange names the cat's family chose, and that it wasn't on the saint calendar or anything like that. Um, so then more time passed, and the cat wanted to dip into that pot of fat again. And it used the same story that there was another christening it had to go to. So the mouse again like agreed to let the cat go, and this time the cat finished the whole pot of fat. And when it came back, the mouse asked what the kitten's name was, and it was all gone. Mm, so yeah, it was all gone. And then eventually winter arrived, and they reached a point where the mouse felt they had to dip into the reserves. So the mouse and the cat went to the church, and the mouse noticed it was all gone, and it started putting all the pieces together of the strange names. And every time the cat went to these supposed christenings, so the cat kind of eventually ate the mouse right then and there, and that's how the story ended.
Yeah, and it was kind of like it said, and that is the way of the world
Mhm.
at the end, kind of sort of moral hold at the end of Aesop's fables. Um, yeah, and some interesting details too. I mean, obviously, it happened in threes, kind of traditional. One interesting detail was how satisfied the cat was, and the cat lingered around like town and sort of walked around the roofs of the town and the church and things after eating. So it's not it's like it's satisfied sort of mentally too, and not just physically from eating the fat, maybe from getting it all to itself. And I know these stories are composites and things, and there's probably a lot of embellishments, or a lot of details are not in every version and everything, but I'm just treating it as is written. But I think after the first or the second one, the cat had commented to itself, like, things are much more satisfying when you keep them to yourself. Other detail I noticed is that the cat, in giving its pretext for leaving the house, and it's interesting that she has to ask like leave of the mouse or something like that. There's something about how yeah, they are supposed to be partners. I think it does detail how the mouse is kind of keeping house, and how when the cat is gone, the mouse is like cleaning the house and everything, sort of doing her part to sort of keep up her end of the deal, while the cat is simply exploiting the freedom she's given. you know and I wonder if there's something interesting about her. I mean, I guess she has to give a pretext for going to the church specifically, but why would she have to do that? I mean, if the mouse is staying inside, like, she wouldn't know that the cat is necessarily going to the church. Why is the cat giving a specific reason for going there? But maybe there's not another reason for her to be going anywhere else outside the house or in town or something like that. Is that maybe to catch mice or vermin or something? But maybe there's just a lot hidden about the cat or something, and the cat is living in this partnership, kind of hiding her nature, and only does so as long as it's to her benefit. And the mouse is very naive to have ever entered into such a partnership, thinking that the cat would be, would not be a cat, you know.
And like I think each time the mouse asked a name, the cat seemed to become irritated. I don't know,
Yeah, she kind
increasingly
of,
irritated.
yeah, or completely, I thought it was just completely unremorseful. After the first trip, and after the cat came back, the mouse at once asked what name had been given to the third child. Oh, well, this is the third trip. It will not please you more than the others, said the cat. He is called Algon. Yeah, completely remorseless. I did notice that the way they entered into this partnership was the cat had made this is at the very beginning of the story. A certain cat had made the acquaintance of a mouse, and had said so much to her about the great love and friendship she felt for her, that at length the mouse agreed that they should live and keep house together. So it was all from the sort of scheming of the cat. I mean, and I wonder if maybe there's implied that the mouse is maybe the only one that's done work here, and maybe the pot of fat was done by the mouse mostly or something. So the work of the mouse is exploited, or the diligence of the mouse is exploited by the cat, which, enjoys the very, exploitation of it. And also, yeah, another detail is she would describe the imaginary christened mouse, and the first one was mostly white with brown spots. The second one was less white, and the third one was mostly black. I guess maybe that's sort of the traditional designation. Maybe it's an outer manifestation, traditional designation of like good versus evil, white versus black, or light versus dark. And maybe that's like an outward manifestation of the cat's soul or deed or something like that.
Yeah, I thought similar. Like I thought maybe it's signaling a kind of like decline of their relationship.
Yeah, the relationship, right? Yeah. Yeah, when during the difficult time in the winter when they had no more food, and the mouse suggests that they go out to get the fat, the cat, kind of mocks her. Yeah. Yes, answered the cat. You will enjoy it as much as you would enjoy sticking that dainty tongue of yours out the window. Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of this is the cat's words are all lies, and the mouse's words are all just thinking things through. At the very end only, the mouse is voicing the truth of the story. Alas, now I see what has happened. Now it comes to light. You are a true friend. You have devoured all when you were standing godmother. First top off, then half done. Then will you hold your tongue? Cried the cat. One more word and I will eat you too. All gone was already on the poor mouse's lips. Scarcely had she spoken before the cat sprang on her and ate her, and that's the way of the world. Yeah. Yeah, it's like all the cat's words are lies. All the mouse's words are sort of truth. She's suspicious. She just repeats what the cat says, and she's suspicious increasingly. And finally, she realizes the truth of the story, but all too late. It's like the cat is telling lies to propel the story forward or something. And the mouse is always trying to play catch up. And finally, at the end, she catches up to the end of the story, but I don't know. It's like the cat doesn't want the truth to come to light. Like, even though the mouse has realized that what has happened, the cat doesn't want it to be said out loud. The cat doesn't want to acknowledge what has happened. And like, she seems to threaten the mouse, don't say one more word or else. And then there's an irony with the last word, all done, and how there's a second done that is done, in that the cat, eats the mouse, and the mouse is all gone. The story is done. But yeah, there's a thing about partnership, in that the words that are said have to be understood to mean the same thing by both parties. But this is not a partnership. It was never a partnership, because the cat entered into it with her own intention, and the mouse entered into it with a totally different intention. And when the end happened to the mouse, I mean, it was, it simply said, and that's the way of the world. You know, don't expect someone's nature to change, or don't expect, if their words are different than their nature or their sort of action, that you don't fool yourself into thinking what you sort of naively or cowardly or just want to think based on desire, or yeah, desire for there to be no conflict or something. Don't think that, don't fool yourself. Cat gets all the benefits and the mouse loses everything. The mouse probably does all the work and the cat does none of it. It's an interesting partnership. I think I heard a similar kind of fable on a movie, The Crying Game, where like the frog and the scorpion. I guess we can look that up sometime, but yeah, it's something like the scorpion convinces the frog to give him a lift across the river. And at some point, this is a little bit different, I guess, because the frog feels the sting in his back and he said, what are you doing? You're killing us both. And then the scorpion just kind of, again, completely unremorseful and unapologetic, just comments something like, well, it's in my nature. Sort of like, what did you expect? The story is, presumably told to children, or maybe told around the fire or something, different people saying it. Seems maybe good to contemplate and good to know, to have a little bit of healthy suspicion of others and their motives, especially if you know someone's reputation or something like that. Seems maybe a different kind of moral to the sort of maybe the post-Christian kind of morality that maybe we sometimes get with, like, maybe naively thinking, no one ever has bad motives, no one ever has bad character, just be kind and good and everything will work out. At least for practical reasons, and that is the purview of this story. It's two animals. They're not really aiming for any kind of higher spiritual transcendence or enlightenment. They're just trying to survive the harsh winter, especially as a mouse, very difficult, as the cat points out, like she could be trapped if she goes outside, although I guess there's an irony in her, again, in her lie, in that, she warns the mouse not to be trapped as she's trapping the mouse in the house the whole time with her words. But anyway, yeah, this is not, they're not trying for any kind of spiritual transcendence. This story is about very practical, everyday reality and survival. A house, a church, a town, predators, food, harsh winter. The very basics of regular life. Yeah, there was the second thing that we might discuss, the four agreements. We were talking about how the first one is always be impeccable with your word. Obviously, the cat is completely not like that. But I wonder if this could apply, like if you could apply this agreement to like a psychopath where, that's maybe completely using you or abusive or something, using their words only for effect or to trap. He does mention in the book that I think he says something like, always be impeccable with your word also means being honest with yourself about someone else, and not, I don't know if the book says this, but maybe there has to be something about, anyway, with wisdom, with knowing when someone else is fooling you, not fooling yourself about their meaning. If they're lying to you, not telling yourself, not brushing it off or trying to ignore it, but facing it head on, being honest with your words, expressing what, saying what needs to be said if something does need to be said, and not trying to avoid conflict. Of course, not rushing, head first into it, but yeah. What do you think?
Mm. Are you saying maybe the mouse wasn't impeccable with its word in that way for a while?
I don't know if I'm just going off the theme, I guess. But yeah, maybe the mouse is.
Maybe.
Anyway, the mouse should have known, I think, is the point of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the mouse didn't, it was like a very unnatural situation the mouse was in, being with a cat, and the mouse didn't question that unnaturalness like in a critical way.
Yeah, she was
I believe it was
fooled.
good.
She was wined and dined, and then dined on. What do you think about white lies?
Hmm. Well, I normally think lies aren't good in general, but then as I've gotten older, I've kind of seen how sometimes it seems like you kind of have to spare uh, bigger problems from occurring.
Yeah, I would
Um,
put it in a positive way of yeah. I mean, we need skills. We need aplomb. You need to finesse things sometimes, or you need to be gentle with people. I heard a really good distinction by on a Lex Friedman podcast recently between honesty and candor. I hope I don't mess this up now, but he said some, but basically some situations call for honesty if there's a matter of truth at hand. But some situations like that we often have white lies be a possibility are not where truth isn't as important, and one doesn't need to express the truth literally, stuff, it's not a matter of, where truth doesn't matter so much as people's feelings. So one has to distinguish between these two. So I think sometimes it can be confusing by using the word honesty, because honesty could be, whether I discern and say the truth the best that I can. And by the way, it's not always clear what the truth is, especially when we get into moral philosophical matters. And maybe honesty would imply making the effort and even over time developing the skills to try to discern the truth. I mean, I think we talked a little bit about that, the Catholic value of discernment and how feelings can sometimes get in the way of these things. Yeah. But yeah, some situations maybe you have to have the practical wisdom, the prudence to kind of see that it's more a matter of feeling. Like, a typical example is the wife asks the husband, do I look fat in this dress? This maybe isn't the time to think about diets or general appearance. It's more like she wants to feel desired, or at least, maybe needs a little compliment, needs a little tiny self-esteem boost, even if maybe it may only be half true, sort of an expression of solidarity or something. Not everything is about the objective truth. Some things are about our mutual illusions, or you going along with something with your friend out of caring for their feelings or something. And it depends on the situation. Some situations are, the truth is much more important. What is at stake is much more important. In some situations, what is at stake is more like subtle, gentle, relational kinds of things. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think I told you the book is sort of Buddhist in some way, sort of the idea that all of us experience the reality that is created by our minds, but the book isn't so much trying to go into depth of, it's more about practical wisdom rather than going into the depths of like contemplation and meditation, where you're trying to see through your illusions and things, eventually enlightenment or something, but more just the practical wisdom of not falling into too much traps of from your bad agreements with yourself, with the world, with others, and but you do have to, I think, talking about objective truth and candor, you do need to live in the world knowing that others have their illusions and sometimes more attachment to them than others, and things, and diplomacy and other skills are called for when you're dealing with other people in their illusions.
Yeah, just learned there's lots of people that aren't interested in truth.
Yeah, I
It's
thought
just
maybe you're alluding to something like that earlier when you mentioned problems instead of more just like getting along in the world. I know sometimes maybe you had a lot of experience dealing with, what would you say? I don't know.
But after the people I've come across, like I've just it's a pet peeve of mine when people ask questions they know the answer to, or that I know they don't want to know the answer to.
Well, what do you mean exactly? That could mean more than one thing. Because remember the second agreement, or no, the third agreement is don't make assumptions. So I'm, I mean, often we kind of know what someone's going for, but sometimes maybe we're seeing more of our assumption than we want to think.
Yeah, I'm actually not so sure what I meant exactly, but uh, yeah, I just learned that there's just some people you need to lie to, and your honest, your true thoughts, like they'll never be happy with it. So
But I mean,
there's no point in telling them.
is this a little bit like the white lie situation?
And I think this might go beyond white lies. So even so,
Yeah,
yeah.
intentionality is really powerful in the world. Um, yeah, I think the spirit in which we do something has a lot to do with the moral goodness or not of
Mm,
it. I think that goes a lot of the way to answering like the sort of moral value of a lot of things,
mm,
not so much their effect. Although you could argue about that too. That's interesting kind of thing. Uh, but yeah, our intentions behind them. And you could say, I do tend to believe that, yeah, sometimes intentions are rather muddled or yeah, to not necessarily with a very enlightened view towards preventing the suffering of the other person or of other people necessarily. And so if you're dealing with a remark from, from a spirit of maybe looking to cause some kind of similar muddling or chaos in the other person, uh, that can be kind of difficult to deal with. I mean, can you give me an example?
mm. Oh, this is just minor. So, this like a more minor one would just be being asked for my opinion, and that person gets upset. Gets upset when I share my opinion. So I knew they just wanted me to tell, like, uh, to agree with their opinion on whatever they were asking about. Uh,
I mean, that
that's
could partially be an assumption of yours that that's what they wanted all along. I
mm,
mean, yes, they didn't want to hear the words that you said, but the reason they reacted, I think, could partially be a little bit different than what you were thinking.
mm,
But yeah, but there is a kind of breaking of trust or something like that in getting upset rather than just being disappointed or not feeling good. Yeah, there
mm,
is maybe a sort of uh, unsocial kind of spirit behind the question if they're just looking for a specific answer and
mm,
may seem to blame you for not giving that specific answer. That is sort of
mm,
a antisocial maybe kind of thing.
mhm. Yeah, so I've just gotten in a habit.
Uncompromising, talking about
Yeah,
partnerships, like with the uncompromising kind of thing.
yeah. So I've just gotten in a habit of when I know what their opinion is, I'll
Being
just
a
parrot
yes
it back
man.
to them. Yeah,
Yeah. Being a yes man.
yeah.
Yeah, that can be wearing. And yes men are, of course, the type of people who surround what? A tyrant. So, yeah, it's interesting just reading Phaedrus by Plato. Again, I believe, like in the Republic, he puts the tyrant as, he's a political philosopher and he puts a tyrant as like the lowest type of soul, like he believes that philosophers have the sort of highest type of soul and they're the best leaders, even though they don't want to be leaders. and then you kind of have, and they're wise and virtuous, and then you kind of at the polar opposite end of like the human and political scale or spectrum. You have the tyrant who's like not virtuous, not wise, wants power, a bad leader, and sort of, you know, yeah, that's not easy to deal with though. Yeah, if you feel too constrained by someone kind of asking your opinion but not wanting it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then even when they insist they want my honesty, like I don't believe them. So, uh, yeah, I just still parrot back whatever I think they want to hear.
They're on to you, but you still.
Yeah.
But is there a challenge in this though, in being impeccable with your word? Is there a challenge to you in this? I know can be very hard if you're dealing with someone who's getting upset and things, but is there a better way than, you know?
Oh, maybe there if I could if I was like a better speaker or something in a way where I could tell the truth in the best way possible, maybe that would help. But
Yeah,
I don't have the
navigate
words in my
this
mind yet.
minefield.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is why it's important to build up skill. I mean, that's kind of a Buddhist idea that, so much of what seems evil or good comes from mere skills. Being highly skilled, being able to finagle nuance things, both sort of difficult and in all sorts of difficult situations, And I think that's really true with other people. No, with the tone of voice, with the speed, with the words, with the facial expression, and with all the relationship that's built up till then, in the positions that you've put yourself in or allowed yourself to be put in, etc. The more difficult the position you're in, and the less skill you have, the more you're backed into a corner, the fewer possibilities that are open to you, and the worse the interaction is likely to go.
Yeah, like if I just need the speaking skills of a Greek philosopher.
Think Socrates spent his life in the marketplace. I guess part of the answer is one that people like you and me don't want to hear, is that you've got to talk a lot with a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about him.
Well, and in practical terms, don't be surprised when the cat tries to eat you,
Mhm.
when the cat tries to eat the mouse, when one nature who's shown itself to only be one way does what has been consistent up till then.
Mhm.
Don't be surprised when they, the 10th time out of 10, they act consistently like they have the first night. But maybe that's, you listen to the story so you don't have to live it. Okay, well, be impeccable with your word. Maybe a good challenge for this week. Maybe we can even try to follow it up next week.
Yeah. I feel it's easier with people you don't care as much about. But when it's people you care about, maybe it's somewhat more challenging some ways.
Yeah, well, skills are built up over time, right?
Mm.
When we go through these experiences, maybe that
Mm.
upon reflection kind of change us slowly.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, maybe I'll think of that as a challenge for this week, and maybe we'll report back next week, see how it went.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good talking to you, and maybe we'll read another story too.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, I'll try to be impeccable without stain this week.
Hmm.